PC building season is upon us, and with so many key sales around the holiday period getting closer and closer, how should you go about selecting the parts for your next gaming PC build? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 4 amazing builds at 4 price points: a budget $800 build, a $1,000 system that's perfect for 1080 and 1440p gaming, and 2 higher end builds for $1,500 and $2,000 respectively. And don't worry, for my UK viewers, I'll also be showing you guys the best system you can assemble right now for that £1,000 price point as well. I'm going to be doing it with up-to-date pricing from Newegg and Overclockers, so you guys can see exactly how much these systems cost. So let's dive into it after a quick word from today's video sponsor. Corsair Custom Labs is here and supports a wide range of products and components, now including PC memory. Simply choose your desired Vengeance RGB configuration of speed and capacity and pick from one of the amazing custom designs. Whether you're into sci-fi or this amazing variation of cherry blossom, there's a myriad of options to pick from. You can match your peripherals with the same Custom Labs design too for a fully unified gaming setup, and even configure multiple product designs at once with live renders. Learn more about Corsair Custom Labs and check it out for yourself at the first link in the description below. Now I'm going to start off things with the $800 build, and I always tend to begin by allocating the CPU and the GPU first up. In terms of budget GPUs, there's a few options. We've of course got Nvidia's pretty terrible RTX 5050, but we can do better than that, I think, in a $800 gaming PC build. The slightly better RTX 5060 is probably an option too. That's going to clock in for around that $300 price point. And on the AMD side of the equation, we've got the 9060 XT, the 8 and the 16 gig model. Now I'm going to try and squeeze in the 16 gig model if I can, and our cheapest price here is looking about $349. So let's begin there. That's going to deliver great 1080p and 1440p performance if we can fit it in the budget. So that's going to be the next challenge. Now for the CPU, we're going to go Ryzen. Probably going to go for last gen, something like the Ryzen 5 7600. Now you can get one of those currently for $184. The other option would be a 7500F, or to go even older and drop down to the likes of a Ryzen 5 5600, which I don't really want to do, but let's see if we can manage the $185 7600. Now so far that's pushing our total spend up to $534. So let's do memory and storage next up. I want to find the cheapest 32GB DDR5 kit that I can with a good latency. With this being a more budget-oriented build, we're not bothered about RGB. That's not going to work and going to cost, frankly, too much money. And as you can see here, RAM prices right now are kind of high. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and filter. So we want, of course, 2 16GB modules. Cast latency, we might have to go slightly higher than I'd like, but we definitely want to be below 40. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search by lowest to highest price and see where we land. So we've got this V-Color kit, that's okay, $85, Patriot kit for $90, XPG Lancer for $90. It's not looking good at the minute. RAM pricing is really, really high, so I think we're probably going to be going for this V-Color kit at that $85 price point. I'm wondering if we can trim back some of the cost with our storage. I always prefer a 1TB NVMe, so let's see how low we can get that in terms of price. I want to keep it on the Gen 4 architecture, as that's going to be quicker, and I can do that by selecting the little interface drop down and going PCI Express Gen 4.0, primarily X4. Now, we've got some brands I've never heard of. Redata, Goodga, maybe not. This Team Group drive looks a bit more reputable. Speed-wise, we've got up to 5,000 megabytes. That's going to be plenty fast enough, and that's going to work, I think, pretty well for the build today. Now, for the motherboard, we can go for a last generation B650 motherboard, and I again want to go for the lowest priced options first of all. Now, if you're okay with an open box board, this $85 ASRock is going to be fine. There's some great open box deals and refurb deals here, and if I'm honest, I think that's probably where we're going to have to go in order to stay in budget. This ASRock B650M is probably the cheapest new board we can buy, but at $100, they're certainly not giving it away. So let's go for our open box ASRock board. The only disadvantage is we don't get any Wi-Fi as standard. That puts us at around the $740 mark with our combo savings. Let's do the power supply first, because ultimately it's not an area where I can cut too many corners. You've got to get something that's decent. For power supplies, I always recommend an 80+ certification, and ideally, if you're going a higher end build, you want that ATX3 standard or better. Now, the MSI A650BN is a power supply I've used before and can vouch for as being a really, really good budget option. ASRock have also got this Challenger design, which is $10 cheaper and seems to have pretty good reviews. And I think that's what we're going to go for. $54 for a 650 watt power supply is not too bad. You lose out on certain things. It's non-modular, for example. That's something where you're saving the money and you're feeling the pain a little bit, but it does come with a 5-year warranty, so that's pretty good. So let's add that in. So we've currently got everything apart from a case, and we're $5 over budget. Let's add the case in and then see if we can get it back down under that $800 mark. Let's search by the best selling PC cases and set our maximum budget at $70. Now, I want to be below 50, but sometimes if you've got like promo codes and rebates and stuff, as you can see here with the XT Pro, that obviously is going to be something we need to account for. Now, the XT Pro from Fantex would be a great choice. At $50, I guess it's probably about where we want to be with the rebate. $40 with the rebate, however, for the G370A, that could be very good. The X5M from Montech is okay. The fans are Molex powered though, which is a real shame. And then down here, we're getting too expensive. So what it's looking like then is it's looking like the G370A, which is actually a really solid chassis, is going to be what we pick. So that's $40 after the rebate. Now, with all of our combo discounts and all that kind of stuff, we're up to a total here of $853. If I'm being honest with you, this is probably what I would go for. But if you wanted to get it below that $800 mark, here's what I'd do. I would swap down to the 8GB variant of the 9060 XT. For 1080p gaming, the 8GB version isn't really going to be too much of a problem. But tune up to 1440p and the lack of VRAM is really going to hurt you. Now, the good news is that the 8GB 9060 XT is faster than the 8GB RTX 5060. And I do think if you absolutely only have, say, $270 to spend on a card, it is a really great shout. You kind of have to be careful talking about VRAM because it's such a contentious subject, but this actually represents a saving of about $80 over the 16GB variant. And if you're only gaming at 1080p, while the VRAM is, yes, not completely ideal, it does make this build well under that $800 mark. This build then really interesting. 32 gigs of RAM, a G370A, a Micro ATX motherboard, which is on the smaller side, 8GB 9060 XT, a 650 watt bronze certified ASRock PSU, Ryzen 5 7600, and a Team Group T-Force Z440. You know what? For $773, that's kind of crazy and represents for me pretty insane value for money. Now, if you've got $1,000 to spend, how does this build change? Well, really, we're able to actually upgrade pretty much everything. Now, the $1,000 budget is probably not really going to provide much of a GPU upgrade. Instead, we are going to go for the 16GB variant of the 9060 XT, which is going to be better. But the rest of the build is just going to be elevated in a way that makes it a bit nicer. Now, a good example of that is the CPU. I think I'm going to opt for the Ryzen 5 9600X. A bit of extra performance isn't going to hurt, and the price here with the promo code is actually not that far off what you'll pay for the 7600X. But you're getting a bit more performance. I'm also going to go ahead and get some slightly nicer 32GB DDR5 memory, ideally around CL30, but let's look at those 6,000 kits and see what's on offer. A bit of scrolling down and we're hopefully going to find ourselves a slightly better deal. 120 for the Ripjaws M5 Neo, that's a pretty nice kit. The Delta, 176. What is going on with memory right now? This is insane. Let's see how much this promo code is going to save us. It's slightly annoying, it just doesn't just tell you, right? Okay, so some pretty big savings actually. Our CPU is knocking $5 off for the promo code, and our overall discount's $27. So this RAM kit is actually about $110 with the promo code, $115. We're also getting a combo up saving of $18. So actually, that Corsair kit makes a lot of sense, even though as a standalone item, it's really quite expensive. I'm also going to go ahead and pick up a B850 motherboard instead this time around. The newer chipset is going to have out-of-box support for our Ryzen 5 9600X and give us more up-to-date things like USB 4. Some boards are going to give you Wi-Fi 6E or even Wi-Fi 7. GeekaWhat have got a nice B850 gaming X board that I rather like, and I'm going to add that to our comparison. I'm also going to compare the B850 Live Mixer from ASRock and this cheaper Asus Tough board that's got Wi-Fi 6E as well. I'm going to add that to our comparison. Now, motherboards, it all depends what you're looking for. Between these boards, there's not much that sets them apart on price. None of them support the latest Wi-Fi 7 tech, and while the Asus board is better equipped equipped in terms of the power delivery, it is going to cost us another $10. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick the GeekaWhat B850 Gaming X board, as it's one I've had really good experiences with. I'm also at this stage going to look at some power supplies. Now, we could stick with a 650 watt PSU if we wanted to, on the basis our GPU's not changed a great deal. Having a look at the 750 watt units, PC Cooler, they're a really good budget brand. They've got one here for $70. MSI's A750 GL is good, but that's $94. It's a bit more than what we want to spend. Corsair's CX750M though, that's a very reputable brand of power supply. That's only going to set you back $75, which is actually the same amount as the 650. So I'm definitely going to put that in. It's going to open up upgrade paths. It's going to help future-proof the build a little more, which I think is important. I'm also going to take a look at this stage at some PC cases. Now, I think the XT Pro Ultra I talked about in the last system, only another $10. Again, we've not got loads of extra budget to play with, but at $69.99 with the rebate, you get 440mm fans. They're all ARGB, loads of mesh, loads of airflow, and it actually featured in a recent video where I talked about some of my favorite cases to buy right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in, as I think it's the perfect fit. Now, taking a look at the car, and we are at, after the savings, $936. Now, we've got pretty much everything in here. The only thing we seem to be missing is an SSD and maybe a CPU cooler. I'm going to still stick with the 1TB, and again, I'm going to look at the best selling options. Now, I don't want to spend too much. I don't want to spend more than around about $80, and frankly, I don't think that I need to. The Samsung 990 Evo Plus is okay for $70 USD, but the MP44L from Team Group, if you've watched the channel before, you'll know I love this drive. We reviewed it really positively, really like it. It's not sponsored. Team Group have never sponsored the channel or a video on the channel, but they do have a great drive in the MP44L, so I'm definitely going to put that in. Now, the only thing I would recommend really is a CPU cooler for the Ryzen 5 9600X. We shouldn't need to spend more than $35, and there are loads of great budget options out there. Now, Cooler Master have got a 212 black at $27, Be Quiet's Purock 3 is $30. For now, I'm going to add in Montek's NX400, as it's a cooler we've had good experiences with. Now, that then brings us to a grand total of $1,012. I'm $12 over budget, please let me off. And if I scroll through, you can see some good improvements over the $800 build. The XT Pro Ultra, a really nice ATX B850 motherboard, a 16GB RX 9060 XT, a 750 watt bronze certified power supply for upgrade paths, a nice Montek NX400 simple tower air cooler, Ryzen 5 9600X, as well of course as 32GB of Corsair's Vengeance RGB memory and a 1TB MP44L from Team Group. Now, before I move on to the next build, which is a $1,500 build, I want to actually do a bit of a shout out for my UK viewers, because you might be thinking, well, this is $1,000 in the US. What can I build for £1,000 in the UK? Let's switch over to Overclockers, who are one of the most popular retailers in the UK, and check out a great $1,000 build over there. Now, I'm going to start with a similar basis of our $1,000 build, starting off with the 9600 or 9600X. Now, the 9600X is currently on promo for $188. That's a great deal. And I'm also going to chuck in a similar B850 motherboard to the one that I used in my $1,000 system from GeekaWhat, who are on a real drive right now with their Eagle range, which provides really great value for money. I'm also going to check out if we can get the MP44L here in the UK. It looks like we can at a good price. That can go in the basket. And I'm also going to chuck in a 750 watt Corsair PSU to try and keep things even. I say that, what I would do is chuck in the 750E at $89.99. It's on pre-order. Hopefully we can get it soon. My gut reaction is probably yes, and if not, I'm sure Amazon will have it, and I'll leave that down below. CPU cooler wise, I want a simple CPU tower air cooler, and look at the deals here. $29.99 for a dual tower air cooler. That's the equivalent of about $34, $35. We could go even cheaper with the Assassin X120 redefined, and I'm going to do that. 18 quid, that is a bargain. In terms of the PC case, I'm interested to see how the XT Pro Ultra compares here in the UK. Now, the good news is we can get one for 75 quid, which is great. Overclockers have a really good B-grade program. Their B-grade stuff is very often just like opened and maybe returned. So I definitely recommend that if they had it in the black. Now, a quick chance at the basket shows we're at £600. So let's do the GPU and begin by looking at our 9060 XTs. Now, again, what we want is the 16 gig model. The cheapest in stock is the same price as the B grade. That makes no sense. But it's 329 quid, which is an absolute bargain for that tier of graphics card. Memory, we're missing memory. We have everything but the memory, I believe. So let's go ahead and look at the 32 gig DDR5 kits they've got on offer. Now, we might have to drop down to a non-RGB kit. This Vulcan kit is 6400, so that would be okay, but it's out of stock. This Corsair kit is 90. It is cast latency 40. As I say, memory is just an absolute crazy situation right now, and you have to be quite careful. You may have to shop around, and I'll leave various pricing links for all the builds down below. Now, it looks in the UK like we're going to go a bit over budget. We're at 1,038 with the delivery, or 1,026, 27 without. UK pricing then a bit higher than the US, and all those combo savings we're seeing in our Newegg tab is making a really big difference. That brings me back to my final two builds, and of course the next price point is $1,500. What can you get here? Now, I've actually started building this system up because a lot of the parts aren't going to be shared from the previous build. So the CPU, the motherboard, the memory, the SSD is the same but a higher capacity, and the power supply has gone up a notch. Everything else is exactly the same. Now let me start off with the PC case first and foremost, and again look at what the best selling items are on Newegg right now. Again, we need integrated fans as standard. The Lancool 207 would be a great value shout. The King 95 Pro from Montech is awesome, and with all the fans is great value for money, but it's too expensive. The Lancool 216 RX is quite nice from Lee. Oh, this is really difficult. What I'm probably going to do is actually go for the King 65 Pro from Montech, as long as the price is good. We can pick one of those up for $95. That gives us the included fans that we like, and again, it's a case I really am a massive fan of. The airflow's good, the visuals are good, and the price point is pretty fantastic. For the CPU cooler, we probably don't need to go for a liquid cooler, but we could consider that as an option. And you can see here, under 100, we can grab an MSI Core Liquid. That's $80 after the rebate and gives you up to a $30 Steam code, basically giving it away. The Master Liquid 360L is from $69. MSI's Core Liquid A15, that's $80 after the rebate. Wow, they're making this hard. I think I'm going to go ahead and look at our Cooler Master option and see what the price is going to be when we add it to the cart. I think we can live with 80. That's about the same as what we're going to pay for the MSI options, so I think that's reasonable. And that puts our total cost at $800, giving us $700 to spend on a GPU. And there can only really be one option. Can we get a 9070 XT in? Yes, we can. Prices on this card have finally fallen. It's still about $60 over MSRP, but a $10 price premium for what is one of the best GPUs AMD have released in like a decade suddenly feels like a bargain. So let's add that in and let's see, where are we at? 1554, but after the savings of 27 on promo code and 68 on combo, we're at 1459. That's pretty good. If you wanted to go a little bit higher, you could upgrade to a slightly better motherboard, put the case to something a bit more fancy, or even just buy some nice cable extensions for your build. Now, in terms of parts, I've got the 65 Pro I talked about earlier, a B850 Gaming X motherboard from GeekaWhat, 16 gig 9070 XT, which provides phenomenal gaming performance, the 9600X, 32 gigs of RAM. The latency of this could be a bit lower, but 36 is okay. Team Group's 2TB MP44L, a 360mm all-in-one cooler, and an RM750E from Corsair. Now, to turn this into a $2,000 build, there's a couple of options. You could just go ahead, remove the GPU, and go, yes, I've got $1,200 to spend on a high-end graphics card. I wouldn't necessarily say that's advisable, but obviously from the 9070 XT, the next best thing is a 5080. So that's kind of, in some ways, what we're going to have to do. Now, the cheapest brand new one is $999, but if we go down, have we got any promo codes on any of the slightly more expensive ones? The answer is no. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our GeekaWhat WindForce card. Now, I mentioned earlier the King 95 Pro. I actually think for the money, that's a more suitable case for this build. And at 150, I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. The next issue really is not going to be with the memory. It's not the SSD, the cooler, or even really the power supply, although that does probably need to be 850. So let's get that sorted first. And MSI, I mean, look at this, $99 with the rebate for the A850G out. We've used that and like it a lot. But Montech here, I mean, that's unbelievable. The Century 2, just 85 USD. Wow. Things like memory have gone up, power supplies certainly haven't. Now that puts the build at 1844, so about 150 of spare cash. The weak point in this system for me is the CPU. The only real upgrade I can think of is the 7800, which I can't spell, X3D. Now that's going to come in at 420 minus a 20 promo code. However, you get a free MSI liquid cooler that's 360ml with the purchase. So we can actually put that in, be $78 over budget, take out our 360ml Cooler Master, which we no longer need, and land at $1,997. Isn't that satisfying? We've got Montek's awesome King 95 Pro, a motherboard that's a little on the low end, you might want to look at that, but it would be fine. A 5080 WindForce from GeekaWhat. We've got a Montek Century 2 850W PSU, a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D processor with a free 360ml cooler from MSI, 32 gigs of DDR5 memory with a CL of 36, and a 2TB MP44L SSD from Team Group. And that wraps up my best builds for the months of, I guess, kind of October and November 2025, and really the whole holiday period. Do you think I got these builds right? Did I get anything wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.